biggest plot twist of your life. I was in my dorm room studying for my chemistry final when my phone rang. It was almost midnight. My mom never called that late, ever. At first, I ignored it because I was in the middle of memorizing formulas. Then it rang again and again. By the fourth call, I felt this horrible knot in my stomach. I answered immediately, but it wasn't my mom. It was a man. Hi, is this Emily Carter? I sat up straight. Yes. I'm Dr. Reynolds from Mercy Hospital. Your mother was brought in tonight. My entire body went cold. What happened? There was a pause. Then he said the words I'll never forget. She suffered a severe medical emergency, and I think you need to come as soon as possible. I couldn't breathe. I asked if she was okay. Another pause. We're doing everything we can. That was somehow worse than hearing no. I threw clothes into a bag and practically ran to my car. The drive home was 3 hours. 3 hours that felt like 3 years. And your brain does awful things during moments like that. It starts replaying everything. Every stupid argument, every ignored phone call, every text you meant to answer later. I remembered snapping at my mom 2 days earlier because she'd mailed me another care package. I was 19. I didn't need homemade cookies and vitamins. I actually told her she worried too much. Now, I'd have given anything to hear her ask if I was eating enough. I cried almost the entire drive. At one point, I had to pull over because I couldn't see through my tears. I kept thinking, please let me get there in time, please. When I finally reached the hospital, the emergency department was chaos. Doctors were rushing around, phones were ringing. I could hear someone crying somewhere down the hallway. A nurse looked up when I said my name. Oh, she said softly. I've been expecting you. That sentence nearly broke me. She led me toward the intensive care unit. Every step felt heavier. Then a doctor came through the doors. He looked exhausted. The kind of exhausted that told me he'd delivered bad news all night. Emily? He asked. I nodded. He started explaining things. Blood pressure, complications, critical condition. I honestly didn't understand half of it because my brain had stopped working. Then he asked, when was the last time you spoke with your mother? 2 days ago. He looked confused. Really? Yes. He glanced down at his chart, then back at me, then at the chart again. His expression changed completely. Oh no. I don't think I've ever heard those two words said in a more horrifying way. What? I asked. He looked pale. What is your mother's full name? Susan Carter. He blinked and looked at the paperwork again. Oh my God. My knees nearly gave out. What happened? Is she alive? The doctor looked horrified. Your mother isn't my patient. I just stared at him. Apparently, another woman named Susan Carter had been admitted that night. Same first and last name, similar age, and somehow my number had been attached to the wrong chart. I stood there trying to process what he was saying. So, my mom isn't dying? No, she's not even here. Oh, she's here. I blinked. What? He rubbed his forehead. Your mother is in room 214. Why is she in the hospital? He actually laughed from relief. She slipped on her front steps and fractured her wrist. I think I stopped functioning for a full 5 seconds, then I started crying. Again, except this time from relief. A nurse walked me upstairs. When I opened the door, my mom was sitting in bed eating Jell-O and watching a cooking show. She looked up and smiled. Sweetie, what are you doing here? I just burst into tears. She looked terrified. Oh no, is college going badly? I couldn't even answer. I hugged her so hard she squeaked. Then she said, careful, that's my bad arm. I started laughing and crying at the same time. She kept asking what was wrong. Finally, I managed to explain everything. Her eyes got huge. Then she looked down at her cast and back at me, and she said something I will never forget. Well, this is awkward. I ended up staying the night with her in the hospital. We talked for hours about school, about life, about all the things I kept putting off because I thought there would always be more time. The next morning before I left, me one of her homemade cookies from her purse. Yes, she had cookies in her purse. Of course she did. Then she smiled and said, you know, you drove 3 hours because you thought I was dying. I nodded. She squeezed my hand. That's actually kind of sweet. I laughed. Then I looked at her cast and said, Mom, I don't think I've ever been so happy to see a broken bone. She grinned. And for the next 10 years, every single time she called me late at night, I'd answer with the same sentence. Please tell me you've only broken something again.